Hey, welcome back. Let's take you back now to one of our top stories. The software company SAP has been ordered to pay back a whopping 81 million rand to the Water and Sanitation Department. In March, the special tribunal ordered that SAP repay 413 million rand to the department. Let's take the conversation forward then. I'm joined by the SIU spokesperson, Kaizer Kganyago. Kaizer, good evening and thank you for your time. My understanding is that this was a settlement agreement that was then made an order of court. Give us the details how we ended up with this payment now, which has to be made within 5 days.
Yeah, good afternoon, Thulas, and good afternoon to your viewers. Like you have heard in your introduction, in March, we took this matter to the special tribunal because we saw that there was an amount of about 413 million that was overpayment on the contract that was between SAP and the Department of Water and Sanitation. Then when we then wanted that 413, SAP themselves decided that no, the 83 million that is part of this 413 is what we have paid to other service providers and so on and so on. And then they disputed that 83 million rand. They say, no, we can pay the rest except the 83 million. We then proved to them that this is a serious matter and we have got proof that this 83 million is part of what was supposed to be paid. And when they realized the kind of evidence that we had, they then came to us and said, no, let us then have an agreement. We then said, because this is coming out of a court case or a tribunal case, we are going to make it a court order. Therefore, let us sign and take it back to the judge. And the judge then ruled on Friday that it has to be now given to the department within 5 days because they have been delaying with this 81 million or 83 million up until from March up until now, which is a lot of time. That is why the judge decided that it must be paid in 5 days.
Sure. So for the sake of completion then, Kaizer, locate this 81 million rand within the context of the original 413 million rand for which you got an order in March this year.
Yes. When we wanted 413 million, they then said, okay, we will pay 413 less 83 million. And the 83 million was in dispute, but they paid the rest of the money. Therefore, when we proved to them, the only amount we could take was about 1.something million to take out of that 83 million. That is why we have 81.5 million now in the order. Therefore, this 81 million completes the 413 million that they had to pay back to the Department of Water and Sanitation.
That is a big amount, is it not, Kaizer? Just over 400 odd million rand. It's almost 500 million rand. How significant is it? And is it one of the biggest, sort of getting back the money that you've been able to achieve?
It is a significant amount, yes, but it is not the biggest. You'll remember when we were dealing with the ABB matter, we managed to get them to pay back 1.6 billion rand to Eskom at the time. Therefore, that was the biggest. This is a little money compared to that one.
Yeah, but I do imagine you'll have a lot of South Africans cheering for that. What then happens with the money once it's recovered is a separate conversation that we can have, as South Africans amongst ourselves. And Kaizer, just for someone who doesn't remember, what was so wrong with the contracts for software packages and management of that were awarded, if I recall correctly, around 2015, 2016 by the Department of Water and Sanitation? What was so wrong that led to you fighting tooth and nail such that this money is paid back?
Yes, we were informed that the contract was not entered into in a correct manner. And when we went there at the time, Thulas, we found that the officials in the Department of Water Affairs created an emergency in order for them to get into this contract. And they gave an impression that the contract that was existing was about to expire, only to find that it was expiring in a year from that time. And therefore, they entered into this contract extension without following processes because they've created this imaginary crisis that if this thing is not there by this date, therefore they were then paying whatever the company wanted at that particular time, and therefore that in itself made it irregular because there was no emergency that was there. The contract that was in place still had a year to go, but they then created the impression that it was finishing in few days, and therefore we have to extend that contract so that they get benefit as officials.
Yeah, and lastly then, Kaizer, what you just said leads me to my last question. Your focus is on recoveries of monies lost through corruption and other misgovernance practices. In what you've been doing with this particular contract, did you pick up any issues that you then referred to the NPA and the Hawks and other agencies to say, hey, listen, we can't do anything about the criminal issues that come up in our investigations, but maybe you might be interested to follow up?
Definitely. We have sent a referral for collusion to the NPA, but we've also sent referrals for disciplinary action to the DDG that was involved in this matter for the department to discipline that person.
All right, I've got to thank you for your time. That's Kaizer Kganyago there, speaks on behalf of the SIU, telling us about their latest recovery in as far as contracts that were awarded and handled in a corrupt manner are concerned. And I think we're getting to a point where we really have to give credit to the SIU. One wishes they had a bigger capacity to be able to go after more people because, let's face it, if we're not getting these people behind bars, at the very least, even if it's a consolation of some sort, let's at least get some of our monies back while we wait for the slow wheels of justice to eventually grind. Because I know Shamila Patoyi as well is also working on the other side and saying that there are seminal matters. And I guess you and I just want to see those coming to court a bit quicker than they are at the moment.